Hello YouTube, I'm Andrew and welcome back to How to Be Dadly. Today I want to go over an important life lesson, how to shave. As you can see, I'm getting a little bit stubbly. You just get a little bit closer here. An important rite of passage is when a parent shows their kids how to shave. So that's what I'm going to go over today. So there's all kinds of ways to shave. You can use electric trimmers, you can use razors. Personally, I like to use something called a safety razor. It's kind of old school. You actually use a razor blade to do all the work. I like a little bit of a retro feel. It kind of brings an elegance and class to the activity, but it's really all just up to you. Another common type of shaving implement is a disposable razor. These are really cheap, really easy to get, and very easy to use. And they make things pretty safe. You don't really have to worry as much about nicks or cuts, so long as you keep everything wet and lubricated with something like a shaving cream. See if you can see that a little bit. There's all kinds of shaving creams you can use. You can use just a regular bar of soap. I find that can kind of dry out your skin a little bit. Or something that's purposely made for shaving. So I like this, again, kind of retro shaving cream that you put into a bowl and whip up into a lather. You can also use canned shaving creams. Those are easy and cheap, but we're going to kind of go old school, kind of go a little bit retro. And a lot of the skills that you learn doing it this way also translate into doing the shaving with a disposable razor or even some electrics. So let's get started. I kind of like using a more old school approach where I take some shaving cream, put it into a bowl, and I whip it up into a lather using this kind of old school brush. I think this is a badger hair brush. But first things first, you kind of need to wet the skin. You don't want to shave on dry skin because that can really irritate the skin. You just kind of dampen everything up a bit with nice warm water. It doesn't have to be scaldingly hot, but it helps to be warm. While I'm doing that, I also put some water in the sink that I can use to then clean off my razor. And I just take my shaving cream in a convenient little bowl and just put a little dab. Something kind of like this. And then I take my brush, kind of get it wet, and I just start whipping. So it kind of goes from a consistency of kind of like a thin toothpaste to a nice lather. Again, you don't need a lot. You know, sometimes in movies you see people put a ton of shaving cream on. Usually in the canned shaving creams you have a gas that helps push it out of the can, and that makes it even more foamy. So it makes it seem like there's a lot more. So there's actually a lot here, enough to do my entire face. And all we really need to do is just kind of give something to protect the skin and kind of to moisturize a little bit as well. So you take your brush and you just start applying your shaving cream all over where you want to shave. Kind of a mindfulness that happens when you can kind of be a part of the whole process. One of the drawbacks of my brush though is my badger hair brush likes to shed a little bit. So sometimes I'll find a badger hair that kind of gets taken off of the brush and embedded into the shaving cream. So And just kind of wipe out my bowl. I don't really need that now. And then I just take my razor. So what I'm going to be doing is mostly in a nice even stroke, just kind of pulling the blade down my face. And then I'll also be kind of going up in certain parts. And it just kind of takes a little bit of practice. That's where sometimes learning how to shave with a disposable razor can be helpful, because it has some features that make it a little bit easier. You have a couple of blades that can kind of do a little bit more work than the single blade that this has. But I found this to be a really powerful tool as well. Just kind of get everything wet. And then I like starting on the top with my sideburns, and I just kind of in short, even strokes, just kind of work my way down my face. Once the razor's full, kind of shake it out in the water, kind of like Bob Ross when he took his brush and would beat the devil out of it. Do kind of the same thing, and then return to shaving. I like keeping the goatee, so I'll actually shave kind of around it to kind of help shape the goatee. And then I'll get the jawline. I'll kind of pull the skin a little taut so I can get the jawline nice and good. And so I've been kind of going in a downward fashion on my neck. I'll actually kind of go up. There's some people that say, go with the grain or against the grain or whatever. As you kind of learn the contours of your face, you kind of find what's kind of natural and what feels most comfortable. What's really important though is just making sure you have a nice sharp blade, and that makes the whole process a lot easier. When your blade starts getting a little dull, it can feel like it actually pulls the hair out instead of cuts it. Kind of being mindful of Adam's apple. And then I repeat on the other side. Kind of see one of those badger hairs kind of getting brought up by the blade. And just kind of move things around on your skin just to make sure you get a nice close shave. I remember when I was in about 7th or 8th grade is when I started getting a little bit stubble. It wasn't until I was probably a freshman in high school where I started shaving more regularly. And I started out with an electric, which is fine, is nice and easy. I did find the electric would rub my neck a little bit raw. And it doesn't work as well for some people. It can kind of irritate the skin a little bit. But if it works for you, that's great. Again, it's easy. You don't really have to do that much to get it to work, and it's pretty intuitive. Now I'm going to do the soul patch just right under my lip here. I don't like having hair there. I end up kind of biting on it and stuff like that, and it can kind of rub that a little raw. I just kind of shape up a little bit, right around there. And then I do the mustache. I usually start right at my septum and just kind of go down one side. like that. And there can be some fine hairs that kind of try to hang out right around the edge of the lip. So sometimes it can help to kind of go in the opposite direction to get some of those. If you're not careful, right around the bottom of your nose, there can still be a couple of hairs that kind of straggle a little bit. I got a little bit of a nick right here. That's okay. Just a little bit of redness and a little bit of blood there. Just wash it off easy. And that's really all there is to it. Afterwards, kind of rinse out the razor really good in the water. I'll just kind of dab it dry and set it out to dry so it doesn't rust. Now, one of the important things is cleanup right afterwards. You don't want to leave a lot of debris in the sink. So, letting the water out of the sink here. You can kind of see all the debris left over from shaving. If you have roommates or spouse or somebody like that, they will not like it if you just leave that in the sink. So make sure you clean that up. It's just good hygiene in the first place. Once it's cleaned up, then you just kind of rinse off. Again, with just some warm water. Shaving cream kind of likes to hide in the earlobes a little bit, so just dry it off a little bit, and there you go. I've got a little bit on my shoulder here. Then, let's take a little moisturizer. It's okay to moisturize. This helps return a little bit of the moisture. The surfactants in the shaving cream can sometimes strip out the oils from your skin, make it feel dry. Some people like to use an aftershave. Some can be alcohol based, and so it can kind of give a burning sensation. If you've seen Home Alone when Macaulay Culkin screams in the mirror, it's probably what he's experiencing is just the astringent alcohol on his face. There's some that don't have that. So then, yeah, you just clean up, dry off, and you're good to go. So that's how to shave, at least from a man's perspective, on his face. But as you know, if you follow the channel at all, I don't have any sons, so I can't really show them how to shave. Although I know sometimes women have maybe some stubborn hairs on their face, which can be taken care of easily with a razor. So one of the myths that's often associated with shaving is that if you shave, the hair comes back thicker and darker. That is not true. Usually when people start shaving, they're going through the opening phases of puberty, and so that's what hair is doing anyway, and that's also when people start shaving, and so it often gets associated with shaving making the hair thicker and darker. That's not true. So if you're worried about starting shaving, that happening, either to your face or any other parts that you decide to shave, that's not how that works. I have all girls, so I'm gonna go through shaving your legs. If that's something you decide that you want to do, it's one of the things that's more culturally acceptable in Western societies. It's not a necessity. Some women go without shaving their legs, and that's perfectly fine if that's a choice you want to make. Because this is How to Be Dadly, I'm going to go through some of that, and maybe you'll be entertained a little bit. So let's get things set up a little bit. So a funny thing just happened. I forgot to press record while I was doing the first step of showing how to shave my legs. But let's just say I took my handy dandy trimmers and use that to kind of take off all of the extra hair. You can kind of see my legs are kind of hairy from here. What that'll do is if you try to shave that just with one of these disposable razors, it'll clog up all the blades and you'll lose effectiveness really fast. So just kind of take the trimmers and trim all of the hair off. Like that. On both legs. And just to prove that I did that, you can kind of see all the extra hair that's on the floor, which I will definitely clean up afterwards. I don't think you really missed much with me forgetting to turn on the recording, just taking all that extra hair off. So now my legs are ready to be shaved, I think. Just kind of like on your face, it helps to do things when they're wet and also to have a little bit of something to keep things gliding nice. So some people use soap, which is fine. For some things that I shave, I just use soap to do. It's fast, it's easy. But since I don't want to irritate the skin on my legs, I'm going to try maybe a little bit of moisturizer and nice warm water. Most people probably do this in the shower. So any of you people that shave your legs and find I'm doing something wrong, you can go ahead and leave some comments. Hopefully nice. And again, if there's somebody in your life that shaves their legs, I would recommend doing this maybe at least once in your life just to kind of see what it is they go through, because it is not a trivial process at all. It seems easier to kind of go from what's most distant and kind of work your way up the leg. And then you can kind of see how the blade gets kind of clogged up a little bit. You just kind of shake it out and continue on. Kind of going up the shin. And kind of do some longer strokes. Be mindful of some bony points like your ankle or your knee. then once you're happy with the results, just kind of move to the other side. And you'll have swimmers that'll actually shave all of their body hair. Helps provide less drag in the water. But I'm just going to go up to my knee because this is just a demonstration. There might be times when women who shave their legs will just kind of do what they need to based on what they're wearing or planning to wear. And you know, I can appreciate the difficulty of doing this. It's especially difficult around the knee. There's all kinds of different directions things go. That's where this kind of disposable razor becomes easy to work with. I don't think I would want to do that with my regular razor that I use for my face. There's of course the bladed razor. Looks just kind of like a knife that you see in old-timey movies or at barber shops. With the straight blade razor. That's one that actually kind of scares me a little bit. I thought about learning how to use that because that is the epitome of retro. But I think there's good reason we haven't seen those as ubiquitous as we see some of the other razor tools. Might look cool, but I don't really want to risk bodily harm when I shave either. Again, the back of the knee seems to be a really difficult place to shave. I think that's about it. I got about everything I wanted to get. So one of the benefits of doing this in the shower is it cleans itself up pretty easily. So again, for the sake of roommates or loved ones that you're living with, please clean it up. Nobody wants stubble left over in the sink or in the shower, so make sure you clean everything up. Which I'll be sweeping up all the leftovers, and then kind of moisturize afterwards. Nice and smooth. So whether you shave your face, your legs, or whatever, moisturizer can help to soothe any irritation that might happen just from the shaving process. So ultimately what you're doing is running a blade over your skin, and that can be very irritating. It can cause red bumps or other sorts of irritation that might not be very pleasant to deal with. So use a good moisturizer or some sort of aftershave sort of product to help relieve some of that. And then there we go. Nice and smooth. Don't really have a before shot because I forgot to press play, but you can kind of see the unshaved part versus the shaved part. There we go. So I've showed you how to shave your face, how to shave your legs. There's people that shave all kinds of things. So whether it be underarms, arms, other parts of the body. So it's really up to you what you feel comfortable doing, why you want to do it, and once you figure out how to shave one thing, the principles kind of bleed over into other things. So for anybody, again, who hasn't shaved their legs before, I would recommend doing it just to understand that it is not a trivial process. In fact, I can understand why it can take so much time to do the whole process, because there's a whole lot more surface area on the legs than there is up here. And hopefully you liked this tutorial of sorts, or my thoughts on different reasons I shave. Leave a comment, and I'll see you again.